listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.
Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name is Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM, the host of Community Forum. We are continuing our Women's History Month special here at Southeast New Mexico College, where we profile influential women at Southeast New Mexico College. I'd like to welcome the director of the Southeast New Mexico College Library. You're more than that, Samantha Villa. That's the only title I have on my top of my head right now, but you do a lot more. We'll let you get into that. And then also my assistant, Sky Soto, Marketing and Publication Director at Southeast New Mexico College. How are you two doing today?
Pretty good.
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Happy
excellent.
to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Samantha, we've interviewed you before when we did the general obligation bonds, right? It might have been your interview, and the two people that we interviewed that brought it home for us, we ended up winning. I mean, winning is
I want to thank everybody for that. You know, the ones that voted, Pearl, thank you.
Yeah, that was a big deal because 2 years before our county voted no.
Yes.
Right, and then they voted yes. And remind us real quick, that funding is critical for a college such as ours in this community, right?
Yes, it's critical for all academic institutions in the state. If you are a student or you've been a student and you've used library services to do research, those funds purchase over $1 million worth of resources that community college wouldn't have the funds to afford. But we all come together, a consortium of libraries, to buy these materials and these resources to help all of our students.
Great. Well, I'm going to hand most of this interview over to Sky Soto. I may chime in a couple of times because I have a hard time not talking. But all right, take it away.
So Samantha, tell me about yourself, your career, and where you're from.
Okay. So I was born and raised here in Carlsbad. Most of my family lives here. There's a lot of us that live around here, actually. I'm the library director. I've been here for about 8 years. I worked at the public library for 15. And, I have 3 dogs that I love. Yeah, pretty much it.
And what inspired you to pursue your career, and what do you enjoy about it the most?
The thing that I enjoy about it the most, or even gave me an interest, is that I love to research and I love to help people. So when I first got my first job in a library, people were asking me questions, and I love a challenge. I love a challenge. So I would get these random questions, and then there's some things that I received, some questions, and people were like looking for like family history, or they're trying to find sources for this and that, and they would actually get really, really happy, sometimes emotional, when I would find those sources that they weren't able to find. So that kind of really, I love it.
And I know I've asked, some research questions, so I thank you for helping me with those. So how did you get into the field you're working in right now?
Well, I started, when I graduated high school, I came straight here to college. Then I ran into some health issues that I had to stop, and it made me really upset, because I was kind of stuck. So I went ahead, and about a year later, I just applied for a job at the public library. They were looking for a page. So I just applied, and then, I ended up there. And I really enjoyed it, and like I say, the whole research component. But the thing that mostly drove me to get started on this was that somebody told me I couldn't do it. And that struck a huge nerve.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I grew when it came into getting to things like that.
Can I ask a question? What's a page?
You shelf books.
Okay. Oh, so we still have pages in the libraries?
Yes.
Okay, because I know that the jobs in the libraries have evolved quite a bit with technology and everything. I did not know that was the name of that person.
Yeah, it was in 2002. And actually, I might be a director now, but I started as a page. Then I advanced to a clerk, which does the front desk. Then our custodian, actually, he got me into computers, and he taught me a lot about networking and everything. So then I became the IT librarian. And then after that, I just thought, okay, well, what next? And then I ended up here.
So you worked your way up.
Yep.
So do you have, what type of degree do you have? An associate's degree, bachelor's degree, or did you just work your way up?
I have a master's.
Oh, you have a master's now. Okay. Do you teach here at the college as well at all?
I did. I taught developmental reading for a bit. But for the most part, I do like in-class presentations. They're non-credit. And that's pretty
Where'd you get your master's degree from, may I ask?
University of North Texas.
Oh, UNT. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Please go ahead, Sky.
So what are some challenges you have faced as a woman in your career?
As a woman? Well, I'm normally not very talkative. I'm pretty quiet unless I have something to say. especially if I'm meeting people for the first time. So whenever you walk into a room, if you don't have that forceful personality, people think that you're not strong. But I feel that if you talk too much and all the time, people don't listen to you as much as they would until you wait till you actually have something that means something, to say.
Plus, you're a librarian by trade and by passion, right? And you're just supposed to be a little quieter, right? You're no library, you can't be all that loud.
Yes, I will shush you if you come here and you talk.
Samantha, I do not feel like you are shy or quiet at all, actually. I know that might be what you think, but I didn't feel that ever meeting you.
When I first started, I was, I'm always very anxious on the inside, but I mean, I have a job to do. I love my environment, which makes me a little it makes me comfortable, so yeah, that's probably why.
So what would you tell other women or girls that are interested in your field?
I would tell them, go for it. And not just in the library, just if you want to be a leader, if you want to get whatever position you want to get. I do say, though, that it's always good, I say, I started from the bottom up. You might go and you might get your master's, your PhD, but still remember that think as if you started from the bottom up, because it'll show you to respect others a little more. Like my crew, I know how it is to be a clerk. I know how it is to be, not a supervisor. Because if you start and as if, you got your director position and you hadn't experienced anything, you sometimes, not everybody, but I've seen it before, that's one challenge, is you tend to not show as much respect for your crew because you don't know their feelings, you don't know, at that level. Right. And then you can empower people more. If you can, I believe, like with my crew, I believe in making them do stuff, if they're like Juanita, she didn't like technology when she started. So I gave her stuff to learn technology and now she's up here,
Yeah.
So that's what I got to say about that.
No, that's great. Right. Challenging them. If it's something that they don't like the most, that just means that they haven't been exposed to it enough.
Yeah, it's getting it out of their comfort level. And, I don't just throw my crew into doing something. Yeah. I stay with them. And, if I see that they're getting anxious or nervous, well, of course, I jump in and I help them. But I just
want to say that the Southeast New Mexico College Library is one of the most comfortable places I've been in all of the community. Like you come up here, everybody's welcoming. Yeah. Sometimes your front desk clerks, I have to be like, okay, we've talked long enough. What I mean? They're so friendly and helpful. Yeah. You've created an amazing space here and a super safe space for everybody as well. And so I just wanted to thank you for that.
Oh, that's nice to say. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so what does Women's History Month mean to you?
To me, the most part is not just opportunity, because we should be using this all the time, but just raising each other up. Yeah, things have been accomplished throughout the years and everything, and, it's been wonderful. But it can't stop there. We have to constantly, whether there are students or coworkers or just anybody that you meet on the street, we have to be sure and make everybody feel like they can do this, they can get this done, and just, there we go.
I feel like everybody's struggle's different, right?
They really do.
Your struggle, you may have struggled getting a master's degree, arbitrary example, maybe you didn't, right? Mm-hmm. But like that hurdle was difficult. Somebody else's hurdle may be much lower, but it doesn't make it any less important to them, right? It doesn't make it any less of a hurdle just because it might be at an entry level, and so you want to meet them where they're at and uplift them and to help them grow. Yeah,
and if you're listening and you're a student, one thing I do say is it took me 9 years to get my associates because I was struggling with other things, you know?
Right.
But, of course, I didn't stop, and, of course, that triggered me when somebody told me I couldn't do it.
Right.
But so even if you aren't going straight to college or that trade or whatever you decide to do, even if you start slow, just keep going, and you're going to get there as long as you want to be.
I respect somebody tremendously that had struggles and it took 9 years to get their associate's degree, right? At 4.5 years, I had like a really good setup growing up, very privileged. 4.5 years in, had the bachelor's degree working right away, right? My struggle wasn't nearly as what somebody else's was. And the perseverance that it takes to keep through from 9 years to get your associates and then all the way to your master's, that's what inspiration is.
In 2.5 years.
In 2.5 years after the 9. Because somebody told you couldn't. Mm-hmm. Man, I love that. Yeah. That's great.
That's awesome. And what future do you hope for women, girls, and higher education?
in higher education. Pretty much, I do hope for them to, choose a career that makes them happy. Be a leader, no matter what it is. If you're in a certain organization, or if having even trades, it would be awesome to have women in trades as the leaders, because it's different. Like Sheena, you've met Sheena?
Oh yeah, so Sheena,
she's our welding instructor.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes, and I just respect her so much. But getting into just educate yourself. It doesn't matter how. You don't have to. Nobody, like you say. Everybody has their own path,
Right.
and just take that.
And if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Quit being scared. Back then, don't be scared. Don't be scared of what might happen, or because I used to really, really overthink things back then, and sometimes so I got in the way of myself, and so that's pretty much the thing, is just don't be scared. Don't be a wimp.
And maybe we ask you to discuss your approach to mentoring young students and young women.
Okay. Here with the students, I've had some, and they would come in really upset, really sad because they failed a test, or they didn't get into this program or that program. And I love them, and I help them with anything that they need help with. But I didn't tell them, I felt sorry for them on the inside, but on the outside, I'd be like, okay, so what are you going to do next? Just kind of to push that. But then, because sometimes you need somebody to be like, oh, wait, you're supposed to be giving me a hug and telling me you don't have to. Nope, get it done. And so that's kind of how I tend to lead, but I do all I can to try to help people get through what they need to.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that helps when you have someone that kind of pushes you through a different direction. Like, okay, this happened, you need to get up.
Well, you know that.
Oh, yeah, this happens and you have to, get up and keep going and not give up. And I think that's good. It's so easy to be like, oh, it's okay. Like, you're...
Sky and I do that to each other all the time.
But, sometimes you just have to have a little bit of tough love and be like, it's going to be okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. So just, keep going. And I think that's important to have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So who are some female educators and leaders that you admire, and why? I struggled with this question. So.
Did you? As far as educators, when I was getting my associate's degree, I got into the library science program at Doña. And my instructor of my first library course, her name was Dr. Susan Pinkerton. Well, I took her first course, and I don't know, we were online, but we really got to know each other. And she tells me, because I was getting discouraged again, and then to do, the messages, she told me, you're not stopping. So what she did is every semester she signed me up for my classes. I was she put me on that path. And she was the first person I called whenever I got this job offer.
All right.
Yeah, because I told her, what do I do? She's you went to school, And, whenever it came to writing my recommendation letter, she's the one that wrote for me to get into the master's program. And I just have so much respect for her. And then Dr. Sharon Jenkins, she used to work in Hobbs, NMJC. Mm-hmm. She worked there, and then her last job was at NMSU Alamogordo. And she helped me when I was a student, and I really didn't know her, But when I first started working here, we have that library consortium, and I saw her there. And then I tell her, oh, my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing, And she's like, oh, girl, quit crying. She goes, you just fake it till you make it, and you figure it out. Nobody's going to – that's probably why I learned my mentorship. Yeah. So, I had so much respect. And it's so interesting. The first time that I saw her walk into a conference and walk in, and everybody was like – it was like she was a rock star, because she really, really would talk to people with respect, and she'd give good guidance, and she treated everybody the same. Yeah, and she was just amazing. Mm-hmm. So they're probably the top two educators.
And what is one lesson or story about women's history that you believe every student should learn?
That one is a hard one.
Well, we gave you the questions in advance, and you have a ton of notes on that paper.
And I struggled with that one too. I think that's the one with the awkward silence.
It was,
that I
well,
had
yeah, you're right.
It's because I had meetings. Let me see.
We'll excuse you
About
for
women's
working.
history. Well, you should have excused me earlier. That belief students should learn. There's really not one. I mean, I think that you need to understand everything kind of that happened in our past. Because if you just choose one, then you only see like one perspective of things. And you might, like when I was younger, I asked a lot of questions, and I think that you need to see a whole picture before you can, be educated and learn this stuff.
Right.
I think it's always good to ask questions, and I always think you can ask any questions. There's not ever a stupid question to ask because you should know what you should be able to ask.
So come to the library and I can find you resources.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's very true.
but it's just too difficult to just do like one story. Okay.
So is there anything else you would like to add? Did we miss any questions?
I think we missed one.
Did we?
I did. I mean, through this conversation.
Okay.
We started the interview with your 3 babies, which are your dogs,
Yes.
right? What are your dogs' names? What type of dogs are they? Tell us about your dogs.
Okay. So I have Coco, and she's a chocolate lab.
Okay.
And then I have Cleo, which is a German Shepherd mix.
Wow.
And then I have Blondie. When we got her, they told us that she was going to be part Pekingese and part Schnauzer. She looks like a Chihuahua. She's jet black and a Chihuahua. So I have those 3, and Blondie was the first one that I got because it's when I was between the jobs when I was going to start this one. I just needed something to keep me company, And then my dogs are a mess though because one of them has panic attacks because if she steps out of the yard, and the other one's just I don't know. She's
Black Lab's got to be hyper all the time.
No, she's the one with the panic attacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense too a little bit.
Yeah, and the other one's just like a terrible chew all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Is your Chihuahua super possessive of one person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm the one that feeds them too most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really did appreciate this interview. But I think the main thing though that made me strong is that my family, like my mom and my sister. Because my mom's a respiratory therapist. She was a respiratory therapist 30-something years. My sister's a nurse. And even my dad, whenever I was going through school, with my struggles and stuff, there's ways that I couldn't get around to my courses or I couldn't do this or that. And they would say, okay, you got to go to Las Cruces to get a tutor. Let's go. Or you need to go to Albuquerque for this. Let's go, because they said there's no such thing as a boundary. But the number one thing that I do want to say, if you do start becoming a mentor or you do go in that professional field, is always be kind. You don't ever make anybody don't ever put anybody down, because that is one thing when it comes to barriers, even, with women or anybody, is if you try to push somebody down, if they don't have that confidence to whatever they're going for, that's not going to make things better. So just do that and just always be kind.
All right. Samantha Villa, Director of the Southeast New Mexico College Library, which is open to the public. If you wanted to come in, check us out. They might want to have you sign a little form to make sure you respect the rules, but otherwise you're good. Sky Soto, Director of Marketing and Publication for Southeast New Mexico College. I really thank both of you very much for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.